Welcome to our weekly Forex forecast, and this is for trading for the week of October 28th to November 1st, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we shall start with our calendar, economic calendar here. So before we dive into the individual news, just overall what's going on at the moment, the most important thing is still Brexit. So Brexit, we have seen a lot of stuff going on with Brexit. And at this point, there has been, of course, no agreement that has been reached. UK has requested an extension. The deadline right now is October 31st, but they have requested an extension till January. And Prime Minister Boris Johnson has actually is calling for elections, I believe, on December 12th. So that's what we have going on right now. In terms of accepting that extension, that hasn't happened from EU, but I do believe they are going to accept it because EU has previously stated that they do not want a no-deal Brexit, and the UK Parliament has also voted out the no-deal Brexit. So we're not going to see a hard Brexit. So they have to come to some sort of an agreement. But if the elections happen and there's a second referendum, that will basically set the stage for what is going to happen. So at this point, in terms of what to expect this week, I would expect that EU would accept the extension. There may be back and forth with that. So keep that in mind. Any positive news or comments related to accepting the extension should be positive for the British pound. However, if we keep hearing more comments that are negative or they're not able to come to an agreement in regards to the extension and whatnot, that could be negative for British pound. So that's just overall what's going on in the market right now. Other than that, we have China and US negotiations going on. On Friday, I think it was, there was a comment saying they are close to some sort of a deal or agreement being reached. At this point, we don't know. Any comments in that regard are also likely to move the markets. So if they reach an agreement between US and China, it would be good for the equity market. So all our equity indices should go up, and it would be negative for Japanese yen and as well as Swiss franc. So Swiss franc crosses and Japanese yen crosses would likely go up under that scenario, as would gold and silver. So all basically the safe haven assets are likely to, gold and silver should go down if they reach an agreement. So all the safe haven assets would go down if US and China actually announce some sort of an agreement. But if there's negative stuff that comes out of them, that would be negative for the equity markets as well as, but positive for the safe haven assets. So I think I said that right. Hopefully it came out of my mouth correctly, but the bottom line is safe haven assets go up when there is a risk in the market. When there's something bad going on, safe haven assets go up and equities drop, and all the risk assets, euro, pound, all those things drop. So that's the bottom line. Okay, so let's take a look at what's actually coming up in terms of news. Monday looking fairly slow in terms of the news. We have some yellow news here. Usually it's not really market moving. One piece here that we could have see an impact from would be our trade balance here. As you know, US and China, the whole thing is about trade balance. So if these numbers are below expectations, that would be negative for the US dollar. Oh, and another thing I should say is the Fed has been buying securities, and as a result of that, we see equity markets going up as well. So actually, I'll talk about FOMC in just a minute here. So we also have RBA Governor Lau speaking. At this point, basically they said that they're not really preparing for any more rate cuts right now, or they haven't announced them right now. Overall, if his commentary stays the same, as he said previously, I do not expect much of a change. The only time, so I don't expect him to be overly positive, but just in case if he's dovish, that could have a negative impact on Australian dollar. Otherwise, I'm not expecting big movement out of that. Consumer confidence numbers are really important. So we have been seeing mixed data out of the US. So if the consumer confidence numbers are below expectations, that could be, or it will be negative for the US dollar, and we could see dollar crosses go up as a result of that. Australia here, CPI numbers coming out. CPI numbers or inflation numbers are very important. One of the key indicators that the central banks keep in mind. So if these numbers are below expectations, it will then put more pressure on a Reserve Bank of Australia to actually cut rates further. So that's why the below expectation numbers here can have a negative impact on Australian dollar. Okay, Wednesday is a big day. We have tons of news here, especially in the US session. First, we have ADP non-farm payroll numbers. These are considered to be precursors to non-farm payrolls report, which comes up on Friday. So this one here, if the numbers are below expected here, it will have a negative impact on the US dollar. We also have quarterly GDP numbers. Again, it shows how the economy is doing overall. So if the GDP drops, that would be negative for the US dollar. So if it's below expectations. And then we have Bank of Canada monetary policy statement here. Now that the elections are over, Bank of Canada is the next one in sight, because everybody has cut rates, or a lot of central banks have cut rates, but Bank of Canada has not taken a step. At this point, I'm not expecting them to do anything like that. But if they do talk about easing the monetary policy, or having to look at the monetary policy, or future rate cuts, all of those comments will be negative for Canadian dollars. So keep an eye on that. Basically, we're just looking for commentary because, like I said, I'm not expecting an interest rate cut. FOMC though, this is where the market is looking for an interest rate cut. They are looking for Fed to actually drop rates to 1.75% from 2% that they're sitting at right now. Fed has already done interest rate cut. So at this point, that's getting priced in. The rate cut is getting priced in. And if they do deliver on the rate cut, we're likely to see a drop in US dollar. However, if they don't cut the rates, that will be positive for US dollar. Now, sometimes what the Fed likes to do is they will cut rates, but then their commentary is positive. So a lot of times the rate cuts are already basically figured into the market, into the prices, and what's not in the prices will be the positive commentary out of Fed. So when that happens, US dollar can still go up as a result. So if Fed says, for example, we're cutting rates now, but we're not going to cut rates next year. I don't expect them to say that, but if they say that, then that will be positive for, that can be positive for US dollar. So just keep that in mind. It's just important to pay attention to what they're saying in their comments, not just the rate cut. But the rate cut will be negative for US dollar. Other than that, we have business confidence numbers here for New Zealand here. New Zealand dollar has done okay over the last week. Both Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar have done okay. So if the business confidence drops, then that will be negative for New Zealand dollar, and we will see New Zealand dollar drop as well. And then we have building approvals for Aussie. So expect volatility in both of these pairs on Wednesday. And also we have PMI numbers here, manufacturing PMI numbers out of China. So these PMI numbers are very important because they are precursors to retail sales and GDP numbers, which come out after. So PMI numbers coming out below expectations would be bad for Chinese yuan, of course, but it will also be negative for Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar, because both of these countries are big trade partners with China. And if something is bad for China, then it has a negative impact on both Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar as well. And then we also have Bank of Japan. So in the same day, we have 3 central banks, so be mindful of that. We have, at this point, there is some speculation that Bank of Japan will actually talk about easing the monetary policy further. They are already negative in their interest rates, but when we see if they start or if they start other programs that help with easing the policy, that's purchase of assets and things like that, that would have a negative impact on Japanese yen. So if you're trading, if you're in any kind of yen trades, you need to pay attention to Bank of Japan here. So that's for Wednesday. Going into Thursday here, we do have some data out of the Eurozone, and then Canadian GDP numbers here, as well as personal spending numbers for the US. And also we have like Chicago PMI numbers and stuff. So overall, it's not as bad as Wednesday. And then we have manufacturing numbers from China. Again, look at Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. And then on Friday, we have another big event, which is the non-farm payroll numbers. These are generally market moving. So if they come in below expectations here, it can have negative impact on the US dollar. And there are two numbers we need to pay attention to, hourly earning numbers as well as the employment data. So if either one of those is negative, we're likely to have a drop or see a drop in the US dollar. And then we have PMI numbers out of the US, bunch of FOMC members speaking. So this impact here will be less than the FOMC, but it can still have an impact depending on what they say. So that's it for the news. And there was a question here, someone asked, what do I mean that it's priced in? So what generally happens is when the market is expecting something, the positions get changed based on what the expectation is, because when we talk about the big financial institutions and hedge funds and so forth, they cannot just take all the trades all at once, because it can really move the markets if we have huge orders going through. So what they do is they start accumulating a position, or they start winding down their position ahead of time before the news actually even comes up. So that expectation, that's what I mean, the expectation gets priced in. That means if you're expecting the Fed to cut rates next week, this week or the week prior, you would see that the US dollar will be impacted. So we've seen the US dollar was weak, and that's one of the reasons. One reason is that Fed is doing their asset purchase program. Second one is that there's an expectation that Fed will cut rate. So as a result, the big players have already been changing their positions in expectation of a rate cut, so that they're not negatively impacted by that. So by the time we get to the news, we generally don't see a corresponding impact from the news. So a lot of times we'll see that if you're expecting a rate cut, the rate cut happens, but we do not see the US dollar drop. That's because it's all priced in, because everybody was expecting that. So when something you expect happens, there isn't that much excitement around that. But if something unexpected happens, that tends to have a bigger impact than what's expected. So I hope this makes sense, but I think I will do a video on this as well to explain it a little bit further. So for now, let's go to our charts here. And we will start off by taking a look at our euro. So euro dollar is the first one here. This week here, euro has been weak. So we saw that price went into the resistance. We had talked about this resistance being important last week. Price could not get through it. So now we are seeing a drop, or we have seen a drop. With the ECB didn't really do much for this, but with the Fed FOMC coming up, this one could get pushed higher. So that's the risk. So be mindful of that risk. But for now, though, bias is to the downside, and I will look for price to drop here. The only problem here, there are two risks that we have to be concerned about, or we have to keep in mind. when trading euro. One would be the Brexit stuff. So if UK and EU reach an agreement, that will be good for both British pound as well as euro. So both of those could go up. And if the second one is if the Fed comes in really dovish, then both euro, all the dollar crosses are likely to go up and dollar will drop, which means euro can go up in that case as well. So those are the two things we have to be careful of. But other than that, based on the technicals here, this is a bearish. So I'm looking for a bit of a pullback and then a drop into 1.0950. So bearish bias here for euro dollar. Pound here, pound has been strong. It is still holding up there. We do have a bearish candle close here, but this is being driven by sentiment right now more so than anything else at this point. So with this one, I would say bias is bearish. However, if positive comments come out of Brexit, that will have a positive impact on pound, which means pound is likely to go up under those circumstances. But right now, bias is to the downside, and I'm looking for a pullback and then a drop. And in this case, the target here, first target is 1.2750 and second target 1.2650. The deadline for EU to accept the extension, that will be October the 31st, because that's the deadline for when Brexit is supposed to happen, right? Based on the previous agreement that was reached. So literally this week, they have to accept it. So otherwise, it's done. So sometime this week, I would expect them to come out and make the comment that they have accepted the extension till end of January, and then we'll get started on all the other stuff that's going on with the Brexit. But the majority of the volatility will be out of market till election happens or whatever else comes out next. But this week, expect volatility in pound. So right now, bias is bearish. What can happen here would be price drops a little bit, but we have a strong support right here, which is coming all the way from here. And we can see even previously, this area has played a very important role. Price had trouble breaking through to the upside. It held the price above this level once it went through, and every time price has gone to this place, it has reacted. So this is 1.2750. If it doesn't break down through 1.2750, we could see it go up like this, in which case our support would be, our resistance would become support and would be holding it up. So for now, bias is bearish, but with caution for pound dollar. Aussie dollar here, this one has basically gone both ways here. But as we can see, we had talked about this last week. We are into major support resistance here for Aussie, and we have a bearish pin bar here. So I'm looking for price to drop. Again, FOMC will be an important event for all the dollar crosses. But here, based on technicals alone, bias is bearish. Price rejected the high of this range that it's been trading in at this point. So I am looking for it to drop. Next target is 0.6680, which is the bottom of this range that it's been trading in. So bearish bias for Aussie dollar for this week. New Zealand dollar, we did see a drop in it after several days of being held at this higher level. Price dropped. So now, same thing here. We do have a bearish pin bar here. So I'm looking for price to drop further here. So in terms of our move, I'm looking for a bit of a pullback here, potentially into the top of the candle to the left of the current candle, and then looking for a drop. So bearish bias for New Zealand dollar as well. 0.6250 is the first target. 0.6200 is our second target here. Dollar CAD, dollar CAD has been dropping, and a big part of that has been the weakness in the US dollar. But right now, Canadian dollar has strengthened as well. So here, my bias is bearish. So we have a solid candle close. I will look for a pullback back into this support resistance level at 1.3100 approximately, and then looking for a drop back into the support level. And this is where things could turn, because this is again a major support level. Just like this one was at the top, this one is important one at the bottom. So we could see price do one of these. So watch out for that. But bias right now is bearish. 1.300 is the target to the downside. Okay, next one here, euro pound. Yes, so euro pound here has really been range bound for the last little bit. So price has just traded between these two levels, between 8680 and 8580. So we have an indecision candle or a spinning top. So at this point, bias is neutral, and we just need to see which way price wants to break. So if it breaks the bottom, then we could look for a move lower into 0.8480. But if it breaks the top, then there's a lot of room to the upside and price could go higher. So this one, it's neutral, and I would just wait to see which way the price breaks the higher the low of this candle and take the trade in that direction. So neutral bias for euro pound. Euro Swiss franc here, this has been holding high, and we see that price has been trading in this range for a little while now. Important thing here is this resistance or support resistance level here is now, we had resistance here and it's acting as support here. So as long as price stays above 1.0970, we are likely to see a move higher. So right now this is looking bullish because price is holding above this previous support resistance level. And if it keeps that up, we're likely to see a move higher. However, there is also resistance right into this area. So if it doesn't go through, then that one the price could come down as well. So it is bullish to neutral, I would say, in terms of how I'm looking at it. Bullish to neutral. There are more chances of price going up than going down at this point. However, things can change, like we talked about several things there. For now, bias is slightly bullish, and the first target would be 1.1060, then 1.1100. Swiss franc here, pound Swiss franc, as we can see, this one has also been range bound for a number of days now. It is also holding above this previous support resistance level. Now we are looking at a daily chart here, but I wanted to show you the range. This is the same thing or similar thing that we are seeing on our Euro Swiss franc as well. So at this point, it is bullish because it's holding above this previous support resistance level, but we have to see which way it broke. So or which way it breaks, excuse me. So if this goes through the high here, this can go higher. But again, if it goes through the low, it can drop as well. So we just need to be patient with this one and see what the market gives us. But for now, bias is bullish at this point, but just watch out for other things impacting it. Dollar Swiss franc, this one is very bullish here. We did see that price couldn't break the support. It was into important support here, and now we have seen price going up higher. At this point, bias is bullish. It is range bound, and it has been range bound for several weeks here. So I'm looking for price to go higher here. We have 0.9900. Now looking for a pullback into that, and then our target here is 1.00. So bias is bullish for dollar Swiss franc. Pound yen here, this one has also been holding there. It's in holding pattern at the moment. We do have a bearish candle, but keep in mind price is into support. So if it doesn't break the support, then it may not go through. It could just turn around and go higher. So keep that in mind. So it's right now bias is bearish, but I would say with caution. Like I said, if price does not break the current support, which is where we are right now, and as we can see all the way over here, this has been an important support resistance level. So if it doesn't break this, it can go higher, and in that case, what we could see is move back down, doesn't break, and then goes higher, which means we could see price go all the way to this level here. So that needs to be the first thing to keep in mind. But what I'm looking for is a bit of a pullback and then a drop. So you would have to get through this 138.80. Otherwise, like I said, this won't work. But right now, bias is bearish. Target is 135.60 level for pound yen. Euro yen here, same thing. Price has been trading in this range. It is testing the support level right now. So for this to continue, we do need to see a break of the current support resistance level. But otherwise, bias is to the downside, and the first target is 119, and the second target 117. So bias is bearish for euro yen here. Dollar yen, this one has just been sideways right now. Last week, actually, dollar did show some signs of revival. Prior to that, it was dropping. So with this one, it's just sideways. There is no excitement here. It's holding above this previous support resistance level, so it is bullish. So we have a bullish to range bound outlook in this. So looking for price to actually go higher here, as long as it stays above 108.20, then we're looking for price to go higher. So bias is bullish for dollar yen. Aussie yen has also been sideways here, hasn't really done a whole lot. We have seen a drop from the resistance. So based on just the technicals alone, this is bearish. But just keep in mind the other things we discussed before. Bias is bearish here and looking for price to drop further. 73 is the first target. And then below that, we're looking at 72. So bearish bias here for our Aussie yen. Okay, next one. Let me just clear this. Okay, next one here, New Zealand yen. New Zealand yen is bearish. This one finally broke through this support level that was holding it for quite some time. So now we have a bearish candle close here. So we have a nice pin bar on the weekly. As we can see, this is the support resistance level we had discussed the previous week. And now we have a pin bar, so price did go up and then dropped from there. So we have a bearish pin bar here, and as such, bias is bearish. 68.20 is the first target, and then 67.80, 67.20 is the second target. Basically, I'm just looking for price to come back towards the bottom of the range now that the top has been rejected. So bias is bearish for New Zealand yen. CAD yen is still holding there. It's bullish still because Canadian dollar has been bullish. So next target here is 83.50 and then 84. So bias is bullish for CAD yen. All right, so now let's move to our commodities. We saw that silver broke through as we saw equity markets drop and all the dollar crosses drop as well, but then it pulled back from there. So based on this, we do have a bullish candle close here. And as you can notice or see here, price is holding above this previous support resistance level. So overall, this is still bullish here, and we could see price moving higher. The only caveat here would be the FOMC, because FOMC can change things. So if they do cut rates, then US dollar is likely to drop, and so are the safe haven assets. So just keep that in mind, and the equities will go up. But if they don't cut rates, or their commentary is actually not as dovish as the market would expect, then this one could turn around. But for now, based on this here, bias is bullish, and next target is 18.25 and then 18.50. So bullish bias for silver. Gold as well, we can see that price broke through the narrow range it was trading in for the entire week, or over a week it was trading in this range. We did see a break on Thursday, and then Friday price went all the way to the high of this range. So as we can see here, this is the range price has been maintaining for last about 3 weeks here. So let's go to the weekly. Wow, over actually a lot more than 3 weeks here. Price has just been in this range. So overall, still bullish because it's holding above this previous support resistance level. Right here, it's holding above this. So overall, still bullish, but it's just been consolidating. And this is our weekly candle close. It's gone in both directions. So right now, bias is neutral for gold. And I'm just looking for price to actually just go back and forth in this range here. That's all I'm looking for. So right now, neutral bias for gold. If it breaks through the high, we're looking for it to go to the next level at 1530. And if it drops through the bottom here, I'm looking for it to go into 1458 level. So neutral bias for gold. Oil is looking bullish. We have seen several days of move to the upside. And as we can see, bias is bullish. Next target is 57.50 here. So the move that I'm looking for is pullback and then a move higher. 57.50 first target, 59.20 is the second target for oil. Copper has also pushed through here. So our bias is bullish here. I'm looking for it to go into the previous high here at 2.67 here. And then if it breaks through that support resistance level, as we can see here, this is a good level. And next one is 2.73. So bullish bias here for copper as well. Bitcoin shot up. I don't have the current weekly chart. I haven't looked at it. But we saw that price got stuck here into this level here, this previous support resistance level. And from there, it's shot up. So do take a look at the weekend chart, because I'm missing that. My broker doesn't update it over the weekend. So here we are into the top of our range here that it's been trading in. So if it doesn't go through, we could see it drop. So very important to see the break actually to the upside. And once we get that, this would be bullish. So right now it is looking bullish, but as we can see, it's into resistance. If it breaks the high, next target is 92.80 here. But if it doesn't break the high, we could see it come back. So for now, bias is bullish for Bitcoin. All right, time for our equities. Equities had dropped, but they went back up again. So we saw a lot of choppiness in the equities here, but then it went up. So bias here is bullish. And this has also been the earnings season. So things have been a little volatile with the indices here, but bias is bullish. We are right into all-time highs here. Market is testing those levels. Now, the thing with all-time highs or lows is that usually there are orders sitting there. So they would either be stop orders or stop loss orders sitting there. Stop orders, basically, you will buy. So we stop buy order here, where price breaks through this level by a certain number of points, then price will go higher, because then whoever wants to go long will go long. Or they tend to be stop loss orders, because anybody who is betting for market to drop from here, because it is such an important support resistance level, will generally have their stop loss there because they don't want to go long. So the highs and lows are very, very important, especially all-time highs and lows. So we are right into resistance, and as we can see, price was into resistance and very bullish here as well, and then it turned around. So pay attention to that. If price doesn't go through 30.20, this one could turn around. So this is very important. Now, should it go through, then we are looking at 30.80 as the next target beyond that. And then we could likely go into 31 as well. So for now, bias is bullish here, and just be careful with the caution that I just said. It is all-time high, so things can turn, but bias is bullish for now. Nasdaq here, Nasdaq has actually gone through this previous support resistance levels, and now we are into or almost into all-time highs here as well. So if we were to zoom out, as we can see, price has never been at this point before. So this is looking bullish, but like I said, if it doesn't go through, this one could turn around. But for now, bias is bullish. There were some positive comments. I believe that came out on Friday, I think it was. There were positive comments in regards to US and China. First, there were comments that China was buying the agricultural products like they said they would. And then there was a comment that said US and China were actually going to sign on some sort of a deal. It wasn't excuse me, it wasn't the final deal, but some sort of a deal. So that pushed the markets higher. And if that sentiment continues, we're looking for it to go higher. So bias is bullish for this as well. And then the next target that I'm looking at would be 8,100. So bullish bias here for NASDAQ as well. DAX also looking bullish here. As we can see from the weekly chart here, we're right into this level here. So the next level I would watch out for would be 13,000. And then above that, there's still room. So 13,150 level looks good. So bullish bias here for DAX as well. So I would look for a bit of a pullback and then a move higher. So DAX is looking bullish as well. FTSE here, FTSE also looking bullish, as we can see several days of bullish move here, giving us a bullish weekly candle. We are into resistance, so just be mindful of that. So if price does not go through, it can drop. So something like that. Watch out for that. That's the caution, but it is bullish. So next target is 73.80. And above that, we're looking at 74.50. So bullish bias for FTSE. Nikkei here. Nikkei is also looking bullish. Price has held above the previous support resistance level here and still holding above it. So bullish bias here. There is room to the upside here. Target is 23,000. And then if it goes through, there is plenty of room. 23,500 will be the next target. So bullish bias for Nikkei as well. All right, so that's all I have for today. Now we do have, if you would like to get the spreadsheet that has all the targets and the market direction that we just talked about, you can go to tradingwithvenus.com/forecast, and you will get the spreadsheet. Now give it a few minutes because I still have to upload it. But it will be the current stuff. And if you have already done that once, I will automatically send it to you once I have prepared it. So this is the URL you want to go to, tradingwithvenus.com/forecast for the spreadsheet. So before we wrap it up, any questions? So what fundamentals do I consider in the weekly analysis? I'm basically looking at the different news reports that's going on. And I also look at, from geopolitical perspective, what's going on in the market. So those are some of the things that I take a look at. You know, the COT, I used to look at that, and it's been a while. It is, I believe it's important to take a look at it, and one should. It just doesn't work on my, the charts don't work on my computer, which is a lame excuse for not looking at it. But yes, I think it's good. It's good to look at it. All right, so looks like that's all the questions. So we'll wrap it up here. Have a wonderful trading week, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now. Oh, actually, before I wrap up, I also do daily market analysis. If you're interested, it's a free daily market analysis. If you're interested, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because every day I download or I upload the videos to my YouTube channel. And you can just do a search for Trading with Venus to find my channel on YouTube. So that's it. Have a great trading week. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.